My name is Blake Dinius. I work for Plymouth County Extension. So I don't, even though we're associated, we kind of work together with mosquito control, I don't work directly for them, which is kind of a good thing because it means when they do things that I don't really like, I can talk about it, I can criticize them and say whether I don't like them. And so it's a good thing. So it means that like if they're doing something, I can say one thing, and if I do something, they can say something about me, so that we're very impartial and we're very unbiased about the information that we're talking about. Plymouth County Extension, if you haven't heard of them yet, we also include an ag extension educator and a 4-H educator as well. And I do the entomology program, so anything, not just ticks, but anything insect related. So bed bugs, lice, butterflies, dragonflies, fireflies, bees, pollinator gardens, any of that stuff. I'm just the resource that's supposed to give you science-based information. So I try to put together this presentation. I try to keep it a little light, a little entertaining, but it's all based on science. And so the information that you're getting here, everything that I recommend has a study to back it up. It's not just something I read on the internet or took from someone else, another website or something like that. All of that comes directly from a study. I'm going to get forward with this, and if you have any questions, what we're going to do is I usually give this quick presentation, and then we do an Aaron, and then save all the questions for the end. So let's go ahead and get started. So why are ticks a problem? And I'm sure you all know this at this point, is the diseases that they carry. It's more than just the bites. It's everything that comes with that bite. But what a lot of people don't realize is that there are more than just Lyme disease that we're dealing with here in Massachusetts. There are 10 known diseases that we have here in Massachusetts. However, I say known because I suspect that there are 2 others at the very least that are here that we just don't have the surveillance data to show that they're here. But we have seen them in New Hampshire, Vermont, New York, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. So they're probably here. But Lyme disease is by far the most common. We estimate that about 500,000 cases occur every single year, but about 95% of those cases occur in just 13 states. The economic burden of Lyme is estimated at $3,000 per patient for every single year. Now, the vast majority of people will not pay that much. However, we do understand that there are a small fraction of people that suffer from long-term chronic symptoms of Lyme, and those are the people that are drastically bringing that number back up, way, way up. They're spending $3,000 maybe a month on treatment for the chronic Lyme disease. Whether or not that works, we're not sure. We're not sure about a lot of things regarding these chronic long-term conditions. Globally, we suspect that about 1 in 7 people have had Lyme disease. And so when you think about that and how most of the Lyme disease cases occur in just these pockets of populations, if globally 1 in 7 occur, then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Are you guys sitting? So probably more than 1 in 7 here in this room, just based on odds if 1 in 7 on average are getting it globally. So here are the other 2 viruses that I suspect are here in Massachusetts that we just really haven't conducted surveillance on very thoroughly yet. Heartland virus and Bourbon virus. We used to think that historically they were isolated mostly to these kind of mid-Atlantic, kind of southern states right down here. But in 2023, the New York State Department of Public Health found that looking at deer blood, that they did have antibodies expressed for Heartland virus and Bourbon virus. And they are found pretty close to Massachusetts as well. In the case of Bourbon virus, for instance, it's found on the border of Massachusetts. And I do not really believe that deer respect borders based on the amount of damage done to my garden this year. They just don't care, right? So we probably have those 2 viruses here. 2 tick populations that are creeping further and spreading more and more that you probably will hear about going forward. Lone Star tick, this is based on a study from 2019, and I know personally from conducting surveillance that there are more red pockets here. The red represents populations, counties with populations that have recurring, continually breeding populations of Lone Star tick. I know that's happening in Plymouth County now, and it is definitely happening in Bristol County. I'm not sure about these counties in Connecticut and Rhode Island, but definitely in Massachusetts there are more of these red counties. This was taken from last year. It's the expansion of longhorn tick, which hasn't really been associated with too many human diseases in the United States. In its native range, it is associated with one severe fever, thrombocytopenia syndrome. And here it has been shown to potentially transmit something like Poisson virus in a laboratory setting. and not Lyme disease, but also a disease with cattle, tuberculosis in cattle. So that one is rapidly spreading. We found that in Hunterdon County, New Jersey in 2017. If you look at all these other counties that it has radiated outward since 2017, it's spreading rapidly, very, very quickly. This one is spreading a little bit more slowly, but we do expect, if you look at historical data for Lone Star tick, the natural historic range extends all the way up to southern Maine. So I would expect it to encompass all of Massachusetts at some point. Longhorn tick, it will probably encompass all of Massachusetts at some point as well. That tick is spreading quicker because it's a completely female population of ticks that don't need males to reproduce. So just a single male brought into a new location can generate an entire population of these ticks. So that one is spreading a lot more quickly than this one, where you do need the right circumstances for this one. This one is spreading further north, mostly along coastal areas, coastal suburban areas. So we see it mostly along the edges, not as much further inland, but definitely along the edges up this direction. The furthest north I've seen this is Plymouth, but I suspect probably Duxbury, Marshfield to get hit next. Oh, this is another, the longhorn tick, very prolific. That's a single blade of grass. And you can think about an entire field filled with that. So that's kind of what you're looking at with longhorn tick. Definitely not fun. So are the ticks bad this year? The ticks, I will say here, yes and no. Yes, because they are worse than they have been since before the COVID pandemic. The last time they were this bad and we've seen this many cases was right around 2017 or 2018, but they were this high then. So it's not representative of something continually increasing. These things are ebbing and flowing, right? But I will say that even when ticks are not as bad, they're still pretty bad. Like here's an example of when ticks weren't that bad, and I collected all these ticks in about 15 minutes walking around a parking lot. So even in a good year where they're not that bad, there are still lots of ticks around. So that's why I mean yes and no. So is it worse than it has been? Yes. But even in the years where it's not that bad, it's still bad. There is a reason why 95% of cases occur in just 13 states, because those 13 states have an abundant and healthy population of deer ticks. And so that's kind of what we're looking at as long as we're living here in Massachusetts, especially the coastal parts of Massachusetts. This is the reality of the world that we live in. About 1 in 2 of these carry Lyme disease, so you think that the odds are pretty good. If you're walking in an area, odds are pretty good, chances are pretty high you will encounter a tick, and when you do, the chances are pretty good that that tick will be carrying Lyme disease. So, not to scare you all, because you shouldn't need to be scared. As I am standing here before you, I conduct tick surveillance around the county. I like to do a lot of hiking, I like to do fishing, I like to camp, I play soccer with my kids, I do gardening, I do a lot of stuff outside. I don't have a very big house, so I spend a lot of time outside my house. In addition to doing these tick presentations, I lead a number of butterfly walks, dragonfly walks, nature walks, firefly walks. I'm always outside, and I have never had Lyme disease, and I have not been bit by a tick in over 30 years. So even though I collected all these ticks, came back not having a single tick on my body, right? So even though the situation is out there, right, we are living in an area where ticks are abundant, they have a very high chance of carrying Lyme disease, that getting bit by a tick does not have to be a situation you find yourself in, right? Getting Lyme disease is a choice, right? These are decisions that we make. And so when you're going outside, I'm going to leave you with a set of tools. Now, I have 2 kids at home, and I know that when I tell them to do something, they're not going to do it, right? And I know that talking to even adults, when I tell you these things, chances are you're going to leave and you're going to think, oh, do I really need to do these things? And so I'm going to leave you with a set of tools, and then you can leave and decide whether or not you want to do A, B, C, or D, right? But the more of these things that you do, your layers of protection will be much stronger. So none of these things in isolation are going to give you 100% protection. But overlapping things with very high levels of protection will get you really close to that. And so that's what I'm saying. So I haven't been bit in over 30 years, but let's go another 30 years. If I do get bit at some point, I'm not going to be surprised, but that's pretty good. A 30-year run with no tick bites, that's pretty darn good. So again, this is just me. I'm going out and collecting ticks, just an example. It's not luck, it's science. I'm a scientist, right? I have a background in toxicology and entomology. I've never once won anything good gambling. I think one time, very traumatic event when I was a kid. I won one raffle once, and I didn't realize I had won it, and I wanted something so bad, and I didn't realize I won it, and that was the last time I won something until like forever. Like I never won anything ever again. It was second grade. I still remember it to this day. So I'm gonna emphasize right now. I know it's 6 o'clock, 6:15 actually. That you guys have worked a full day, right? There's a lot of things maybe going on in your mind, right? Thank you so much for showing up and carving out the precious time in the afternoon to listen to this. So I'm gonna focus on what I think you get the most bang for your buck out of, and that's personal protection. If anyone has been here, has had someone come to their house and maybe try to sell them a yard spray, or come knocking on the door, maybe they drive up in like a Vespa, it's a little kid, maybe 20 years old, trying to sell you something, I think that is the most expensive and least effective way of protecting yourself against ticks. I like to emphasize personal protection because this is the most effective, it has been demonstrated to be the most reliable, and it carries you everywhere, and it's also the cheapest. So let's get into it. So the deer tick, Lone Star tick is a different story, but Lone Star tick isn't as far north as Rockland yet. Deer ticks are blind. They cannot see you. They 100% rely on their ability to smell you and feel vibrations in the ground as you're walking around, right? So they're highly, highly reliant on their sense of smell, which is really, really important. The other thing about them is that they crawl from the ground up. This time of year, in the hot summer, it's been a little bit cooler lately, which people like, but trust me, when it gets into the 80s and 90s, most of those ticks are going to be found about 1/4 of an inch off the ground. They're not going to be climbing trees or jumping or doing anything like that. They're very low to the ground. So you can wear shorts on a day like this and be fully protected, as long as you are protecting that 1/4 of an inch, the sole of your shoe, basically. And I would do maybe an inch off the ground. So you can wear sneakers and socks, crew socks and things like that, as long as you're protecting that part of your body, because most of your ticks are going to be found, again, 1/4 of an inch off the ground. But it's really important that we focus on this ability for ticks to smell us, and they're reliant on their dependence on that factor, right? Because they have no eyes. So when they're around, they're going to be doing this behavior, and we call it questing, where they're going to climb. This time of year, really just not very high up off the ground, maybe just on the dirt, on the soil surface. Yep, question? Okay, sorry. They've got this claw for latching on. So when they do smell animal activity, and they can't pinpoint any one of us, but us all sitting in this room together, right? We are elevating the body, the temperature of this room is higher than normal, right? As I'm talking, and I love talking, so as I'm talking, I'm breathing, and I am exhaling carbon dioxide that's elevating the level of carbon dioxide in this room. So this room is more appealing than the room outside. And when we think about it, ticks, it's all about numbers, right? There's hundreds in the environment, and we think that only about 6% are active at any given moment. So if you think about like 100 ticks, 6 of them are active right now, right? When we're in this room, maybe it's 10 or 12, right? And maybe in the hallway it's 1 or 2, right? Because there are fewer things out there. So when you look outside and you've got birds flying, you've got squirrels, you've got all these things, that's going to elevate CO2. And when that happens, this tick is going to take its arms, it's going to wiggle them around. And you can do this if you have a tick. If you're like me and you have ticks just on hand sometimes, you can take that tick and you can actually blow on that tick just gently with your mouth. And that CO2 will actually cause that tick to get really excited. It will go wild. It will start getting really excited, climbing around, because it knows just that influx of CO2 drives it crazy. And what it's looking to do is latch on with this claw onto things like fur, clothing, and skin. It can even grab onto things like rubber. And this is one thing that I think a lot of people underestimate, is the ability for ticks to climb virtually any surface. Which does include rubber. So I go hiking with this one woman. I lead a butterfly walk every year, and this woman, she shows up in hip waders, right? And she doesn't wear any bug spray because she's afraid of the chemicals, right? But she shows up hip waders, and she's like, this year she told me, I don't want to like kind of out her or anything, but she was like, I'm just getting over Lyme disease. I had a tick on me last night, blah, blah, blah. She's in hip waders, she's sweating, drenched in sweat, profusely sweating, breathing heavily because she's so hot. And I'm going to tell you right now, she is the most attractive person to these ticks more than anyone else now. There is a reason why she's continually getting bit. And then me, I just show up in shorts, right? I've got my socks on, I just put some bug spray in and around my ankles and my knees, and I don't get bit, right? There is a reason behind this, because one of these things is backed up by science and the other thing is not, right? It's backed up on vibes and feeling stuff, right? So that brings me, I spoiled it ahead of time, but that brings me to the first thing. So the first thing that I recommend, and I'm going to recommend 3 things for you to do, try to summarize it in really simple terms, right? One thing that I want you to do pretty much every time you go out, right? If you're going out to walk your dog, or play soccer, or have a barbecue, work in your garden, repellents are the thing you're going to do all the time, right? And the ones that I recommend are the EPA registered repellents. These are not these all-natural organic sprays. These are EPA regulated. They include three chemicals that I recommend: DEET, picaridin, and IR3535. So what I have right here in front of you, this is picaridin, this is DEET. They work exactly the same. So whether or not you prefer the red bottle or the green bottle, it doesn't matter. They're both EPA regulated and they're going to work exactly the same. The next thing that's really important is the percentage. This is 100% DEET. This is 25%. They work identically. The 100% does not protect better than 25%. In fact, the max percentage that you need to go up to is 20%. And I don't even go that high. When I'm with my kids, I've got a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, we use the 7%, and this is all the protection that we need in our backyard. You don't need to go full max. More is not better when it comes to this. A little bit actually provides a lot of protection. And I know because if you're using this stuff constantly, you want to minimize this stuff, minimize exposure to chemicals, all this stuff like that. You don't want it on your skin all the time. I just spray this. I took my kids biking yesterday. Just sprayed this around their legs, right? Just quick spray around their legs, and we went biking. They didn't have any ticks on them. 7%, really good. But if you don't, you've got options. But that's what I'm trying to get at. But you want to use something that's based on science. Now, here's the reason why I do not recommend the all naturals. It's not that they don't work. In scientific studies where you have scientists that are very rigorously following these formulations and mixing these all natural organic essential oils together in the right ratios and proportions, you do find repellency. It's often not as much as this or does not last as long as these. However, these are not a regulated product, these all naturals, which means that while scientists can do it in a lab and it will work, when you go to a store and buy it, there's no obligation for that retailer to sell you something that works. They can sell you a bottle of water, they can sell you something that's actually toxic, and there's no legal nothing. They're not held to any restrictions or regulations at all. They can sell you virtually anything. They can mix a batch correctly one time, you buy the bottle. They can incorrectly mix it another time, and you buy the bottle. So that's what like. If you're going to your farmer's market and you talk to the person there and you know them, they're your neighbor, and they mix it the same every single time. They're staking their reputation on it. I would trust that possibly, but someone just like a bottle in a store, I would not trust them with protection when it comes to this. But again, you do your own thing. If you want to use it, go ahead and use it. But if you want to buy something reliable that you know is going to work every time you go into a store, every time you pull it off the shelf, EPA regulated products. Here's the next thing. So that's the thing you want to do every single time you go out. This is the thing that I recommend doing once a month. You're going to want to treat your clothing and shoes with this stuff. It lasts for 6 washings, 6 wash cycles, or 1 or 6 weeks. And I do this with all my family stuff, right? I take all of our shoes out on the porch, spray all down all the shoes. I take pants and socks, spray it all down. It's good for, again, 6 washings or 6 weeks. If no one has any objections, I'm going to show you a tick dying. So yes, there were ticks harmed in the making of this film. I blow them up. This is a deer tick, and it's climbing on these pants that were treated with this stuff. And you can see a tick kind of losing its grip and falling off. That tick is actually dead. So not only will it not bite me, it's not going to bite anything. It's not going to bite a squirrel, a bird, a deer, because of stuff on my clothes. It's this stuff. You don't have to buy this brand. This brand is Sawyer. Comes in a yellow ball. You don't need to buy it. There's no, like this company here, Repel, also sells the same stuff. It works exactly the same. There's not again, it's EPA regulated. The brand doesn't matter. It's just packaging that you're buying. And this is again a treatment for a once-a-month treatment for clothing and shoes. It can't be used on your skin, but I put it on my kid. When my kid was 10 months old, I still put it on his stuff. It's safe for pregnant women, infants, toddlers, and children. So it's actually approved for more use than even these bug sprays. Use on more people than even those. So again, we kind of talked about it, fabrics only. But I also do like gardening gloves. I'm going camping at the end of this month, so I'm going to spray down my backpack because I'm going to be setting that on the ground. Any kind of fabric is what it needs. Just kind of a quick video of me applying it to, I'm at my friend Allison's house. We're just taking our shoes down. I like to do it on the porch because it dries a lot more quickly. Also, cats have a sensitivity to this, so you want to keep cats away from it until it dries. I have 2 cats at home that I love, and I always just keep it away until it's dry. I've talked with veterinarians on this, and they say that once it's dry, the exposure to the cats, it's okay. I have an orange cat at home. If you know anything about orange cats, they are definitely not the sharpest tools in the shed. And my orange cat, she like sits and she'll just randomly like lick my pants. She'll bite my shoelaces. She'll try to eat my hair like spaghetti. She does a lot of stuff. But she does bite the shoes that I have sprayed this stuff on, and she doesn't get sick. And I talk with vets about this, and they're like, yeah, no, they'll do that, but that's okay. You're just worried about them being exposed to this wet stuff, like if they were to chew this bottle and drink it or something, then that's really bad. So I keep the bottle out in the shed, keep it outside, spray it outside, bring it back in when it's dry. Again, keep cats away until it's dry. Dogs are okay, it's just specifically cats. Treatments for cats and dogs, this used to be a once a month thing, but I know a lot of treatments nowadays are like once every 3 months or once every, there are different routines, but it falls into the same category as these like periodical treatments. Talk with your veterinarian, but here's the big thing about any of these products. Any chemical, anything that you're getting online, just don't do it. I would stop buying any chemicals, no DEET, no permethrin, no pet medication. I would not get them online. Here's an example of a Seresto collar. This was purchased on Amazon, and the dog came in and was almost dead. And the vet compared it to the collar that they had, the packaging they had on hand, and they found that this is, yes, indeed a counterfeit collar. It's hard to know that when you're buying a lot of things online. You don't know if the packaging is the right packaging or if they changed it. My recommendation, just get things directly in a store or go to your vet's office, get it directly from your vet. I know my vet, they trust Chewy, so if you did want to get something from Chewy.com, my vet at least trusts Chewy.com, but Amazon.com, Walmart.com, Target, I would not get any of those things from that. If you're getting socks, that's fine. If you're getting popcorn and water, who cares, right? Don't get any, if they mismake a water bottle, who cares? If they mismake one of these, it's pretty bad. And then the last thing, the number 3, so one thing you do every time you go out, one thing you do once a month. This is the thing I recommend doing every day. Even if you don't go out, do this every day. Check yourself and your pets. Really, really important. One of my coworkers, she brought me a tick, and she put it on my desk, and she said she wanted me to identify it. It was a deer tick. And I was like, look, this has been on you for about 4 days at least. And she was like, that's impossible. Last time I went out was yesterday, but then I didn't go out since last Friday. And I was like, it's been on you since last Friday. And she was like, oh, I can't believe it. I'm so mad. Well, so you check yourself every day because she didn't go out that Saturday and Sunday, but she went out on that Monday. And so if you're only checking yourself when you go out, you're missing the chance to catch these ticks on those in-between days, right? So even if it were to rain outside, I check myself. I check myself when it's snowing. I check myself all the time because you also get really fast at it too. The first time I did a tick check, and Aaron's heard this spiel a million times, the first time I did it, it was this like 5 minutes of like horrible anxiety where I was double checking everything. Oh, this freckle, this mole, this like scat, oh, like what is this? Now, since I do it every day, I know exactly where everything is. I'm just looking for the new spots. When I check my kids, my little girl, she finally caught on the pattern. She's like, you're just looking at everything dark. And I'm like, yep, that's what I'm doing. Any new dark spot on your body, that's what I'm going to key in on, because I know that there are like freckles and different things on people's bodies. People get sunspots, like all different kinds of stuff, right? Just the new stuff. And it takes me now, instead of 5 minutes, about 10 seconds to do a full body tick check. If that, it's very, very quick, not filled with any anxiety because I'm using this stuff. And so that's why I know I haven't found a tick on me in 30 years, because I'm checking myself, finding nothing. And that's how effective these are, is that you won't even find ticks if you're doing it. But the tick check is important just in case, right? Just in case, because you don't want to end up in a situation like my coworker where you went out on a Friday, didn't check yourself for Saturday and Sunday, and you finally noticed it on Monday. Because that's not a good situation to be in. We know that the ticks, the longer a tick is attached, the greater your chances of them transmitting a disease. You catch it early enough, chances of you getting a disease, relatively low. Chances of you getting a disease when it's been on you for about 4 or 5 days, almost guaranteed. How do you check yourself for ticks? I pulled these from like a different health sites and stuff like that. I think one is even from CDC. I do not think these are valuable diagrams because a tick can bite you virtually any place you have skin. Just check your whole body. It's not like checking just your back is going to save you a lot of time. Again, it takes about 10 seconds. Just check your whole body. So that's it. That's pretty much my whole spiel, but I do like to talk about yard protection just very briefly. So hang in there. I know it's kind of getting long, but just because I had a lot of questions about where do you find ticks and what about these yard sprays? Are they worth it? Okay, so real quick. Most of the ticks you're going to find in areas of your yard that have very high humidity. High humidity is key. Again, only about 6% are active at any given moment. Which means that when you look at this yard here, 80 to 90% of ticks are going to be found right here. The biggest myth regarding ticks is that people think they're associated with tall grass. Even my kid comes home, she's like, oh, stay out of the tall grass, because she is told this. The tall grass is not important to ticks. You can have shortcut grass and find ticks. That's where I found that violet ticks was all shortcut grass. Tall grass, there was a study in Western Mass, through UMass Amherst, the woman found 0 ticks in lawns that hadn't been mowed in 3 to 4 weeks. So it's not a grass thing, it's proximity to the tree line. That's what's really important. Shade, humidity, and the abundance of animals that like to frequent those areas. Where do you find your squirrels? That's where you're going to find your ticks, right? Deer come out further out, but the deer ticks feed on over 150 different species of animal. 82 of those animals are birds. Where you see your robins, where you see your blue jays. They love hanging out right on the tree line. That's where you find most of your ticks. Again, just another stat, about 70% of cases, 7 out of 10 you can think, occur from people spending time in their backyards. Just another example about the tall grass not really mattering. This was another study where they mowed half of a trail and they didn't mow the other half, and they found the same number of ticks across the entire trail. So when you see that advice about staying on the center of trails when you walk, it doesn't matter where you walk on a trail. If you're walking on a trail and it looks like this, there's the same number of ticks across the entire trail. Doesn't matter if the grass is tall or the grass is short, there's the same number of ticks. As long as that trail is shorter than, let's say, 25 feet across, the same number, you're going to see the same number of ticks across. Leaves and snow, this is another factor in the landscape that is going to be indicative of where you find ticks. Have you guys heard about like the movement where it's like rewilding, leave the leaves, save the stems? So that does serve as an advantage. That provides habitat for native organisms. Ticks are a native organism. We like to think of native organisms as only being butterflies and bees and fireflies. It includes mosquitoes and ticks as well. Anything you do that helps a bee is going to help a tick, really. So when you leave the leaves, this is just an example of how cold it got. It got to about minus 9.5 degrees Fahrenheit. But underneath the leaves and snow, the temperature probe read 26.5 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a difference of almost 40 degrees, which means that things like your butterflies and your moths and things like that will survive the winter. It also means your ticks will also survive the winter as well. So when you're raking leaves this fall and you're thinking about piling up leaves, remember that ticks are found in that 10-foot buffer zone around your yard. So if you are someone who piles leaves around that 10-foot buffer zone, you have just protected 80 to 90% of the ticks in your yard.
I did.
So if you're wondering why you have so many ticks in your yard, think about how you've protected them last winter, right? And so this winter, you might consider either mulching them, pushing them further up into the woods, or in my particular case, it's not all or nothing because I do care about butterflies and fireflies and things like that, but I do have 2 kids at home. So I have about an acre of land, a little over an acre, and I have the back end, which has my garden and my pollinator garden. We leave all the leaves, do all the hippy-dippy, all natural stuff. And then in the front part where we've got our soccer nets, we've got our barbecue, our grill, everything like that where I know my kids are going to play, I rake the heck out of that. And I have no leaves throughout the entire winter, but I push them all back into around the pollinator garden where it's going to be protected for those. My kids know if they're walking towards the garden, there could be ticks. They know that if they play in this area, there's not going to be ticks. So it doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can do both things, right? Just think about your yard, dividing it almost into rooms. Like you've got a playroom, and you've got the living room, right? Or the dining room where it's got all the fancy china and stuff. Kids stay out of that, and kids can play in their playroom. And that's the way I've divided my yard. So yeah, I just kind of went over that. Be cautious where you pile this. Chemical yard sprays. Again, the most expensive and I think least effective way at protecting yourself against ticks. So the repellents, these might cost $7, $7 to $10. This might cost $15. So you think like $22. That's not even $22 a month. That's maybe like, this will last you, if it's just you, it might last you 4 months. So like probably $4 plus like maybe, I don't know, maybe like $7 a month, right, to protect yourself against ticks. And that's going to get pretty darn close to 100%. There was a study on URI that kind of showed that wearing just this on shoes and socks reduced ticks, nips about 99.97% of the time. So that's close to 100%. You layer that on top of DEET, which usually gets about 82 to 90% protection, and you are about as close to, it's not 100%, but really darn close. Now these chemical yard sprays, there was a massive study by the CDC that showed about 40 to 50% reduction in the number of ticks in people's yards. And that's about $100 to $150 per month. So a lot of money for only a fraction of a reduction in the number of ticks in someone's yard, right? So this is what I think is, again, it's another layer, but if you're already doing these things, you're already close to 100%. Does this have a lot of value added? In my opinion, no. There's also a lot of room to be taken advantage of. So this guy, I don't know him, but a guy just like him might charge you this much money, right? This spray you can get at Lowe's and Home Depot might cost you $20, and it's going to work the same. So he's already charging you, a lot more money, maybe 4 or 5 times as much, maybe 8 times as much as what you would pay at Lowe's and Home Depot for his labor, right? Excuse me. I promise my voice doesn't crack like that all the time. But you can do it yourself. So if you want to do it yourself, just think about the things that I've been talking about, right? Where are the ticks? In that border. The next thing that's really, really important is the timing of these sprays. You want to time that spray once early mid-May, a second time early mid-June. If you have that guy come to your yard, and it could be a girl, they might charge you for 6 or 7 sprays per year. You don't need those. So again, a lot of room to be taken advantage of. You're paying for 4 or 5 extra sprays at $150 a pop, giving this guy $600 for something that is not necessary. You're just, because you're so kind and so generous, you're giving them $600 for something that's not necessary. For something that could cost you $40 a year, you've now given them $900, right? That's kind of a lot, right? So this is how these companies stay in business. This is why they love marketing things based on fear, and why they can hire this 20-year-old that they might pay $15 an hour to knock on your door. This is how they can do all these things. Advertise on a billboard, advertise on YouTube, all these things, because they know that you're going to buy a spray. And this is also something that's kind of crazy about this, is that no one checks their work. If I have a plumber come in to work on my toilet, I want to make sure that toilet works before that guy goes, right? You get a guy who comes spray your yard, how many people are going out there with a white flag to check to make sure he sprayed the right areas, and sprayed and there's no ticks? They're not, right? They're just going to assume it worked, and if they get a tick on them, he's going to say, well, yeah, well, none of these are 100%. You're going to get 40 to 50% reduction, and that's it. He could have just not done it wrong, mixed it improperly. There's no accountability when it comes to these sprays. If you want to do it, make sure that you go with someone who's reputable. Make sure that they're only charging you for the 2 sprays, and they're using a man-made, like synthetic, old-school chemical, right? The all-natural sprays, while they work as a repellent on your skin, there are the same pitfalls where we don't know if the company is manufacturing properly. In addition to that, any available all-natural sprays on the market to this date, none of them have been shown to work. So if you're getting an all-natural spray currently, I would cancel it, because all of them, and there was a study put out by Dyer through University of Rhode Island showing that they're all about as effective as water, the current sprays on the market. So again, a lot of room to be taken advantage of. What if you still get bit? Proper removal. Grab it with a pair of tweezers, firmly grasp it, pull straight up. No Vaseline, matches, nail polish remover, just a pair of tweezers. If you pull too aggressively, You could break off what a lot of people call the head. This is not the real head, this is just the mouth of the tick. I get a lot of questions on this. This part of the body, this barbed straw-like mouth part, it cannot keep giving you Lyme disease. So I get a lot of calls, people say, I got the tick off, but it left a little piece of it inside my skin. Do I need to dig it out? That can cause a skin infection because it's a foreign object under your skin, but it can't keep giving you Lyme disease or any of these other diseases. It's just an inert foreign object, just like a wood splinter. So you would want to just treat it that way. If you like to dig out the wood splinters, try to dig it out. If you don't care, your body will eventually just reject it. It might get pussy, it might get infected, but it's not going to give you Lyme disease is the point. So if you've got like a dog or like something like that, or like if it's on a weird part of your body, like between your shoulder blades, you could just symptoms. Don't Google symptoms, right? Generalized, nondescript, flu-like symptoms. I mean, it's like headache, nausea, fatigue. You guys probably feel like that right now after you've been listening to ticks, right? I feel like that every morning when I wake up with my kid. Daddy, what's for breakfast? Daddy, what? Yeah, headache, nausea, fatigue. Maybe I have Lyme disease. I don't know, right? So what I want you to do is gather evidence, right? If in fact you get bit, right? This is I made this exact same recommendation with someone who called me this morning. Save the tick, record the date that you were bit, try to get a species identification. If you don't have the tick anymore, that's okay, don't worry about it. But if you do get bit, let's say sometime in the future, save that tick, get it identified through the University of Rhode Island's Tick Spotters. It's a free service that they run. They'll tell you the species and can even potentially tell you how long that's been on you. So when you go to see your doctor, the doctor will always ask you, how long do you think it's been on? Now, if you're like my coworker, she would have underestimated it. She would have said, oh, it couldn't have been on me, it must have been on me since Monday, when I told her it was on her since Friday. But if you go to the University of Rhode Island, they'll tell you that information too. So don't rely on yourself to guess. Try to get an identification from an entomologist working at a university. URI, they do run this free service, and they're really good. I once...
Would you mail it to them?
You take a picture with your phone, and there's a form online. You just upload that picture to it, and they get back to you. It could be like Friday night at 11 o'clock, and they'll get it back to you at like 2 in the morning, or sometimes, or like 6:30 in the morning. They're really, I don't know if they sleep. I'm not sure. I don't know if it's like a ping they get on their phones or something, and then they can just like look at it, or if they're just scientists that work 24 hours a day. I'm not sure. But I've tried it because I once went out collecting ticks, and I found a really weird tick, and I submitted it to them because I was like, haha, I wonder if you know what this one is. And they got that one wrong because it was like a woodchuck tick or something. And then when I told them, oh, I found it in like a woodchuck hole, they're like, oh, I know what that is. I thought you found it on a person. But they got back to me real quick. I sent, again, that's how I know. I sent it to them, I think it was like 11 at night, and they got back to me at like 1 in the morning or something. So anyways, website, Tick Spotters. It's through Tick Encounter. This is what it looks like. You select the file, fill out the form. It's going to ask you like, do you know what this is? You don't have to know for sure because that's why you're sending it to them. Really, really useful tool to have. And then the last thing I'm going to recommend is if you have any rashes whatsoever on your body, take a picture. Don't look at the pictures on my phone. They're going to look really crazy. My phone pictures are really crazy. But any rashes, take a picture. And the reason behind this, there was a study at a children's hospital, and they found that about 82% of people who have had Lyme disease never remember being bit. So it means that you could get this rash somewhere in your body and never remember being bit. But this bullseye rash is indicative of Lyme disease. So if you have this, and you think to yourself, well, I was never bit by a tick, it can't be that. Take a picture. And if and when you start feeling like you have flu-like symptoms, go to your doctor, show them the picture of that rash. The last thing, at worst, your doctor will be like, why are you showing me this? This is weird. Or at best, they can be like, that's the Lyme disease rash. Thank you for showing me. I think in conjunction with this rash and your flu-like symptoms, I think I know what's going on here, and they can make a decision based on that. And so that's it. That's the whole presentation. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. Again, I know it's late. I definitely appreciate it.
So I'm just going to hand out my brochure, and I'll be brief and go over what I do and what services that we can offer you at no cost. That a lot of people don't know about. I know I didn't know about it until I started working there myself. Okay. Blake is always a tough act to follow. I'm not high tech yet, so can everybody see this? Yes. It's good? Okay. So my name is Erin Morrow. I am the community liaison for Plymouth County Mosquito Control, and I go and give educational presentations in Plymouth County on prevention, safety, and the no-cost services available to you to try to help you so you can enjoy your hot summer days. So we'll start with, this will probably bring you back to maybe a life science class. Just being familiar with the life cycle of a mosquito can help you reduce the population of adult mosquitoes, reduce being bitten by a mosquito, reduce pesticide use, and so it's very helpful to know this. And how I start off is, all these stages, which we'll get into, egg, larva, pupa, have to happen in water that is not moving. It's stagnant, it's standing. And that's where you all sort of have a little control in your own surroundings and yards or wherever you are, just by dumping, draining, any type of containers, anything that you see around there that holds water. That can make a big difference to reduce being bitten by a mosquito. Or, the scary part is, mosquitoes are dangerous, they do carry diseases. And so this could help you reduce getting a mosquito-borne diseases. We can't eliminate mosquitoes, but we can try to get rid of them in our yards if possible. If not, that's when mosquito control, we can help you with services. So if you can kind of just always keep that and be mindful of that in your yards, you can kind of prevent some little safety measures yourself. That's what I like to tell people. So we have adult mosquitoes. I'll throw it out there, you're all intelligent, you know. Who bites? Males or females? Only females bite, males do not bite. And the reason being that they both feed off plants and nectar, but female mosquitoes are the ones that suck the blood out of us in order to get enough blood to produce eggs to have a cycle of mosquitoes. So that's the reason being. Now, male mosquitoes die very quickly and females don't live really that much longer. So that's probably good to know. But there are mosquitoes that, we were just talking about this at the other presentation we are, that hibernate during the winter. And those are the adult ones, so, you know, that can bite. So it's good to be aware of that. And the anatomy right here, this is a female mosquito. This is what they call the proboscis. That's what she sucks the blood out of us until she gets enough to take off. So here we go. We're looking. She's going to look for water that is not moving, stagnant, standing there, and she wants to lay her eggs. And this is just an example of an egg raft. That could be 100 mosquitoes, believe it or not, right there. And it all has to do with, when do mosquitoes come out? When we want. In the warmth, when we want to be out and have activities and enjoy ourselves. So, depending on the conditions that are out there, or the elements of the weather, this can happen within 24 to 48 hours. They can hatch. And we go into the next stage, what they call the larva, or plural larvae. And you can see that this looks like funny, an upside down worm, but at this stage, the larvae has to be able to breathe. So this is what they call a siphon. They need to breathe, but they also need to, it's a feeding stage where they need to eat at the bottom, like organic material and algae. Now at this stage, the larvae will go through 4 distinct shedding of the skin, which is called molting. So when we get to the 4th, they're ready to go on to the next stage, which is called the pupa. So all this staging that's happened is due to forming an adult mosquito. So a mosquito is forming inside what they call a pupal case. And this can happen within 2 to 3 days. Again, everything depends on the weather, or if there's any type of movement, and it could just, everything dies off. So that's why it's good where I say you can all help us by just taking care and being aware of things in your surroundings. So after, when the adult mosquito comes out, it will like separate, and out will submerge an adult mosquito that will fly to the top of the water, standing water, and lay there. It's a resting period. Right here, this is not an eating period, but they still need to still need oxygen to breathe, but they're not feeding like we are here at the larvae stage. So an adult mosquito will just stay there until it hardens its wings, resting stage for not a long time, and then it flies off only to what, mate, and
do it all
start
over
the
again.
whole cycle over again. So that's why it's important to know this, because if you're aware of that, you can really help yourselves in your families or whatnot. So not to scare you, not all mosquitoes bite, and not all mosquitoes carry diseases. There's 2,700 mosquitoes nationwide. There's 52 mosquitoes in Massachusetts, and I have some here, they're not alive, they're dead, that you can look at after. And about 15 mosquitoes probably carry diseases. But I just want you to be aware of that. So you've probably heard of West Nile and Triple E. Now, we have a surveillance program that an entomologist, which is Blake's title, who I work with, they have certain traps that are out there, and they pull in and they send these diseases, send these samples of mosquitoes weekly to the Department of Public Health, who we work with. So to sort of give you a little peace of mind, it's a weekly thing that they're always going and trying to test if they detect any type of disease, that they will give guidance to the Board of Health and to your towns and whatnot. And then if they have to do a spray, which like I think you heard last year they did to a couple of different towns down here in Plymouth County, that's determined by the governor, that part. But I'll get into the type of sprays that we have if you can't control any type of standing water, or you can't eliminate it in your own yards. What you can do by calling going onto our website and submitting for sprays. Now, I'll get into repellents that, not to repeat myself, it's similar to like what Blake was talking about. You should buy any type of product, it doesn't matter the price or whatnot, but it should be EPA regulated and registered. That way you know it's effective and it's been tested. Now I just give examples of off. So here is, this is DEET. This one here is picaridin.
I like that one.
And this one here I've been recommending. This is for adults and kids. And a lot of people, what Blake was telling me, they don't like the smell of DEET sometimes, and this doesn't really smell, and it's effective. Obviously, it's been tested. And then, all you ladies out there, you probably remember Skin So Soft. So that's IR. Yeah, that's IR 3535, and so that is EPA registered and tested. So that's another example. However, we had somebody today that he said he was allergic to it one time when he was a kid. I don't know, camping and whatnot, but I think that's like any type of product that can happen to anybody. So that's really important to do that. I'll throw out, what do you think mosquitoes are attracted to? What type of clothing? Dark colors. So if you know you're going to be out, and when do mosquitoes come out? When we want to be out, dusk till dawn. So I kind of would recommend that you wear light color clothing, hat, where you just apply your spray, your repellents like you would, like sunscreen. And I tell people if you're going to be out like on your deck or your patio, what's effective, believe it or not, is just a regular electric fan. Whips them away. And I don't think a lot of people know that.
That is interesting.
Yeah. And as far as standing water in your properties, I'll shut it out there to see if you can give me some examples, but I'll let you know. What things do you think hold water that could?
Those bird things.
Bird baths. I get that a lot, especially when we're doing like the council on agent. Those should be changed once a week with fresh water. And do like the sides, like even have a brush to try to like get that off, because if it's a hot day, like the other day, and it could have eggs. And so you want to like kind of clean all that up. Any type of like potted plants, you know, people keep a little plate underneath. Dump that. Children, grandkids, toys, take them, tip it over, and keep it tipped over. Just a little bit, like even the cap of a water bottle over there, if there's some on that, depending on the conditions, a female can lay her eggs on something like that. So that's important that you do that.
The grill cover. That's what I find. I always empty
That's
the water.
a good
That's a good
example.
Get water
If
in
it
that grill.
rains and the water sits there, just like you might have
I don't know, neighbors that don't take care of their properties and have a pool or have like an old car or a boat and they have the covering over them, if the water is sitting like that, that's a problem. Gutters, you have debris that gets in there, make sure you clean those out. And then I'll get into a big thing down here, which I didn't realize. A lot of people hold tires in their backyards. Huge breeders of mosquito, especially on a hot day. The water gets in, the rubber, heat, you can be infested with mosquitoes. So that's one of the services I'm going to get into that we have. So that's important to know. So I'm trying to think, we've done the toys, the pool, any type of like buckets and garbage cans too. People don't realize sometimes it sits on the top. Yeah, so that's important that you do take those safety measures because that's going to help all of you. And as far as my department, my supervisor is a pilot. So what happens in around April, he will go out. They have mapped out over the years different problem areas, and it's not residential, but more or less they go out and they will treat at the larva stage, larva siding, to try to get a jump start so that we can kill the cycle before it happens. So that's important. Now, I'll get into something else. Water checks. You might have gone around and dumped everything that you saw that you can, but you might have a problem. You might live near a marsh, wetlands, or just have, every time it rains, you have this one area. They will come out during the year. Water checks are free. And you can call anytime. They'll come out and assess the situation and perhaps be able to treat it at an early age, especially if they do like a dipstick and they find any type of larvae. So that's huge that a lot of people I don't think know. And during the winters too, like a lot of the field techs go out to like old ditches or streams or whatever that get clogged up and they excavate because we need that flowing water. Now fish are good. Fish will eat larvae. Dragonflies, which Blake is excellent in that whole area, they eat mosquitoes and swallows. So there's a lot of good animals out there that sort of can help us too, which is good. And when we get to adult mosquitoes, if you're still having a problem, that's when I'm going to say that we can come into play for you, and I'd be happy to help you. But you're getting a lot of information. Everything that I'm speaking about is on our website, which is plymouthmosquito.org, and it's updated daily. You can get 8 free sprays a year, a season, from the end of May up till probably the end of September. And I don't think a lot of people know about that. You go on to plymouthmosquito.org and you hit like spray and just input your information, and then you're in the system, but you have to do it each time that you want it. However, if you're having like a special event and you want that to be done, you can call us on that one and say, can you prioritize on that? Now, I have to make note of a spray. It's preventative. It's only going to kill adult mosquitoes at that time. So they go out at like 2 or 3 in the morning. I hear that a lot of people tell me they never even hear when they come out. And they do it from like the back of a truck, a spray that goes out 300 feet. So it's a very ultra low volume mist, and it's going to like attack the adult mosquitoes at that time. And the reason being is what Blake was sort of talking about earlier, about bees. A lot of people have, they're concerned about bees or certain type of bugs out there. So it's going to evaporate and kind of disintegrate if it's not hitting an adult mosquito. And then as soon as the sun comes up, it's just all dry. It's gone. So I try to emphasize that that's the reason why they come out at that hour. It's important to know that. So I try to tell people to really take advantage of that. I mean, I know you could go and pay, but they may be doing it at the wrong time of the day or whatnot too, and you don't know what you get for spray. So at least you know that this is regulated, it's a government type of thing. So that's important. Water checks, again, you can call, you can go online, call anytime during the year for that. As far as tires, you can get 10 free tires a year. Now that doesn't start till probably the end of September.
Yeah, removal,
Yeah, for recycling. They will recycle tires. And we're also affiliated, we do it 2 events in the fall. I thought
We
the
do
town
them
was
here.
involved.
Yeah, we do them here.
2 in the fall and 2 in the spring. with the South Shore Recycling. We have kind of joined up with them, in case you can't, but I sort of tell people, it's probably better if you go online and let us know. That way, they'll come out and get it at Field Tech, where the other ones, you have to drive there and bring your own tire.
Yeah.
But that's up to you, some people like to do that. And, I'm repeating myself too, Blake, but I was a few months ago with a bunch of like veteran gentlemen, and I was telling them, and they were saying, geez, we paid $50 to recycle in town. I'm like, well, if you wait till the end of September to May, you can contact us, and then we can have somebody go out and pick that up for you. So that's another benefit that we have. And I think I've hit every topic, so I guess we'll both take questions. And I have, like I said, you can come up and look at the mosquitoes here. I have some other brochures. I have some homework if you want to do, since you're all experts in this here, if you like to do word searches. And, we'll take it from there. How's that sound? Good?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I hope that helps. But again, there's a lot of material you're getting today, but if you go to our website, they have a lot of valuable information. Like I say, they update it all the time. The day before, at 3 o'clock, they will show the streets in the towns that are getting sprayed. It's not going to give the number, but it's going to say like that street, in case some people want to kind of keep tabs on what's going on.
So the health department gets that email from you guys, and
Oh, you do?
I put it on the website every time.
Oh, that's great.
Every time I get it from you, I put it on.
No, I appreciate that, and
Yeah.
I think you and I were speaking, I've been going out to all the Board of Health, because our office sort of has started this new system where you go to plymouthmosquito.org and you can hit the spray, and that's going to get you right into the system a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Again, you can call for, like, if you have a certain type of event, but I think a lot of people were unable to get through, and I think this is helping a lot. I think you did. A lot of the Boards of Health have put that link on their town website, which is helping people to go to. And it's been proven right now. They're telling me that it's working very well.
I think this way is better than the fax.
Oh, yeah. I think so too.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to get the word out to sort of help them and they said that it seems to be working a lot better.
I love it.
Yeah.
I do.
Oh, that's good.
It's
I'll bring
easy.
that
Yeah.
feedback to let them know
Yeah.
that. So that's where we're at.
I have water all around my
So
house.
I just have a question for
And
Blake.
all around my
Blake, you were
house.
saying that female ticks
All over
don't
my house.
reproduce,
No, they do.
They do.
but you said they don't need a guy to help them.
Yes. Well, that's just for the longhorn tick,
Oh.
and it's an all-female population of ticks. It's a specific species that is like that.
So how do they reproduce?
They asexually. They just blast out eggs, and that's it. And the eggs can go on. In the insect world, that has arisen a number of times as being able to reproduce asexually, and sometimes the insects can flip-flop it. And in this particular species, there's one population that is all asexual, and another population where there are males and females, and they do reproduce, but we were lucky enough to get the asexual population.
Lucky us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And then in the beginning you had also mentioned information about bed bugs.
Yes.
I obviously not tonight, but
Yep.
I would
Yeah, reach out
love.
to me. Yeah, I
to
worked
talk-
with a number of different towns on, like, sometimes they have like housing facilities, and they want me to either go in and talk about bed bugs, how they spread, even talk with like pesticide applicators to see like how to treat them, because there's a number of different like steps that you should be taking, and even working with boards of health on what to look for when it comes to treatment of bed bugs in like a multifamily housing unit or
So
something.
there it is, right there, in a multifamily home, right? And so bed bugs can live for over a year with no
Yes.
blood contact. And so I'm a bed bug
I will
connoisseur.
take ticks over bed bugs any day. Bed bugs
I
are the
would
worst.
too, right, yes. So that's just something helpful for me to give out to occupants, or even just Rockland people, whatever. How to prep for
Yes.
a
Yes.
bed bug
Yes.
inspection
Yep.
and treatment, because we deal with them all the time, and it's like rampant, and it just doesn't go away.
So the big thing when it comes to bed bugs is you need to have like pretty regular surveillance. And you might know this, but That's really, really important. It's like the cornerstone of all bed bug treatment. You need it, but really, really great beforehand, and then also after the treatment. And that's the big thing, is a lot of times after, people think, oh, they came in and treated, that's gone. It's really important to follow that, because the treatment is almost, the bed bugs are highly resistant these days to a lot of chemicals and products they have on the market. So one treatment is almost never going to kill them all. So you need good surveillance, because what can often happen, especially if the application, so what ends up happening very often is you get this weird triangle of like the landlord, the tenants, and the applicator, and they're all blaming each other. And so in the Board of Health, it's your kind of like burden to go and try to tease out who's doing the right stuff. And so what's really important is that the landlord has a good contract in place, that has a good IPM plan, that is not like predatory for the tenants, and that the tenants are doing they need to not do their own treatment. That's really, really important, because that will push bed bugs into other areas of the house. They'll raid bomb, they'll do lots of bad things they're not supposed to, and they can even get themselves hurt, like doing some of these things too. I had someone who was spraying like outdoor raid in their bed, and they were getting really sick from it. And I kept telling them not to do it, and I eventually had to be like, this is like a medical intervention. Like, I'm not equipped to deal with this, so I actually called like I think it was like some first responders in the area. I was like, you gotta handle it. I can't. This is, but that's really important. And then the applicator that the landlord hires has to have a really extensive surveillance program that is not the sticky traps. So a lot of them want to do the sticky traps, because those are like, you can get like 10 for like $5 or something, really cheap. You want the they're like almost like a silicone, what are they called? They're called interceptor traps, and they look like a silicone disc with ridges, and those go underneath beds, and they go underneath beds, couches, and things like that. You don't need a lot of them. You just need them around areas like, I would do the sofa and I would do the bed of every single house, and 4 of them cost like $25. So they're kind of expensive, but those are so important, because if they won't catch a lot of them, but they will catch 1 or 2, and that's how you know if their infestation is still there. And you want to be checking those interceptor traps like once every month or every 2. The more frequent you check them, the better. But once a month is probably where you want to do. Quarterly is probably the bare minimum, but once a month is pretty good, and the more frequent is better. But those interceptor traps are really important. They're better. The sticky traps are not good, because they will not detect an infestation. And so that's one of the things that a lot of applicators will do. They'll treat, and they know the population is resistant. They'll put up the sticky traps, and they'll be like, it worked. There's nothing in the sticky traps. I came back, I checked, there's nothing in the sticky traps, because the sticky traps do not work. And then and so it's impossible to know if they didn't spray well, or if a tenant keeps bringing them in, right? And so they'll blame the tenant, because that's their out. And then they want to take more money from the landlord, who the landlord doesn't want to pay more money, and they all kind of blame the tenant, and then the tenant's really stuck, right? So those are the big things that right off the bat I recommend.
Let me ask you a question on bed bugs. So, a situation that one occupant was mad at other neighbors. So, she was bringing them in to other people's. Is that
Oh,
true?
man.
Can that?
That's really tricky.
The person
I think
themselves
it-
was bringing it in?
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's really tricky. I don't. That would be something that, like, I hope that's not happening. It's possible.
Oh, it did
It is
happen.
definitely possible. Yeah.
But I didn't believe that a
That
bed
is
bug.
crazy. Yeah.
I just thought the bed bug would have to travel on their own.
They can travel through like walls. And
I
stuff.
know.
Yeah.
So, but
Pipes.
like puts it in a
It's
baggie,
like a mouse,
and
right?
then dumps the baggie
I don't
out
had him in
on the
college.
floor or whatever.
Yeah.
Will that create?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She kept telling me she was
Yeah.
crazy.
I didn't believe it. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Definitely will. 100%.
That would
Of course
add
you
to
brought
an infestation.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
From
She's going to
outside.
like
Oh,
I don't know, some place that she knows has bed bugs, collecting them and dumping them out.
Yes.
100% that can start an infestation.
They get in the pipes.
That's crazy. Yeah, they can go through walls.
Yes.
They can.
You remember?
So that's the other thing about
Okay.
when they treat is you always want, if a person is treating, like let's say it's multiple levels, you always want to inspect like a sphere around that. So oftentimes they'll do like let's say it's the second floor. Sometimes they just set up their traps on the adjacent rooms. The applicator needs to set up traps on the floor below them and above them in like a three-dimensional sphere around that treated area. And also that helps kind of delineate the infestation. So sometimes what happens is the person who complains about it isn't where the infestation started.
Right.
So it can be one person complained about it, and it's like their neighbor down the hall who never comes out. And sometimes that is the case. It'll be someone who they never see. It's that quiet old lady down the hall that you never see. And it can be sometimes like a hoarding kind of situation, or that person's maybe a little bit reclusive, and they're living with it, and they've been living with it for like a year, but you never see them, and it just happens, and all that is coming from them.
Right.
So by setting up that sphere, kind of like when they're setting up the surveillance, they'll trap in a sphere, and if they notice more and more over here, they should be trapping in a sphere around that one until they get to that, wherever that infestation is. But again, the sticky traps will not detect that.
Yeah. Now, what about the heat process? What do you think of that?
It's good. It needs to be very thorough though. So the heat is great because the bed bugs don't have a resistance to it. But the biggest problem with the heat is that it doesn't penetrate a lot of surfaces. So if it's like a hoarding situation, and they have a lot of stacked clothes and furniture and things like that, and so a lot of debris in like the corner, it can't penetrate that deep. So it requires it's expensive, it requires a lot of preparation, so it requires the tenants to all take their stuff and like really prepare for a heat treatment, make it do all their laundry and stuff to make sure that they don't have like clothes hanging over like sofas and like blankets and stuff like that, because the heat can't penetrate that deep. And then it requires that heat treatment to be like incredibly thorough, because it's not like it's only going to kill what's in the direct area. It's not going to cross, and it's not gonna, like if you treat one apartment, it's just going to be, or even just like a room. It's not even going to the next room, and that's it.
Right.
What do you think is the best?
The best treatment?
Yeah.
So the heat can work if you have a lot of cooperation. For a small area,
Don't have a lot of cooperation.
you have a lot of cooperation, the heat can work. There can be, the fumigation one is really expensive. Requires people to get like a true fumigation. You can't live there. It can be really bad, but that can be really effective. And then if they're just doing a traditional spray, some of the chemicals that really work right now, like one of them is like Crosscheck, which is a combination of a pyrethroid and what's the other one? I think it's an organophosphate. So like the combination treatments have been working better, because they if a bed bug has a resistance to one of the products, it's going to be less resistance to another one. And then repeated applications of those with combined surveillance can work really well too, or really well, relatively speaking, as good as you're going to get. And then also combining that with surveillance and education within that facility. Again, just getting people within the facility to understand, like, don't treat yourself, because if they go in and let's say they delineate that infestation, and then someone in there are like bug bombs, they're pushing that into another area that they're not going to treat then, and then that's created another. So like getting people on the same page of doing things like that, it can be really helpful. Those are my recommendations. That's the standard presentation that I would give. It's just like a.
That's a great card.
I know. Yeah. We'll be in touch.
Okay. Great. Yeah.
Thank you. I
Sure.
appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank
For
you.
your interest and support, we appreciate it. But if I can be.
And thanks for
service
coming. I
my
mean,
business
6 o'clock on
down
a
too, if you
Tuesday,
want.
that's a big ask. You guys showed up, which is great.
I know, that
appreciate
was
it,
really
yeah.
nice.
Well, you have all in the office.
I live in
Oh,
Rockland.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We all
All
live in
right.
Rockland.
We all live in Rockland.
No, but I
Yeah.
look at the
It's
staff
good, yeah,
comes,
it's
because
good.
we go to Board of Health, and sometimes we just sit down with the staff, because you get phone calls, and that way you know where to direct it. So
Yeah.
we have been doing that a lot, going to Board of Health and just teaching the staff. Yeah, so we appreciate the residents coming out also.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
We're also taping it and recording it. It's being broadcast live right now on WRPS.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't know that, Teresa.
Oh, yeah.
Can I
You
ask a
look.
question though?
I was thinking, so what about those clothes that they sell, like LL Bean sells those clothes
That's
that
treated,
already
you know,
have.
the monthly treatment I recommend?
Yes, that's what
They're,
it is.
they're treated with that, but it's like a proprietary application formulate. Basically, they stabilize it with a polymer that
Okay.
makes it more stable, and so it lasts for about 70 washings.
Yeah, cause I bought.
And it does work.
I do,
yes.
so I bought so I have a place in Maine, so in Maine,
Mhm.
you know, we have ticks, mosquitoes, the gnats, the black flies,
Black flies.
you name
yeah.
it. And I get eaten alive, so I bought like, just a shirt.
Yep.
Then, and I wear it when I go golfing,
Yep.
I spray myself.
Yep.
That little thing, that shirt works, so,
Yeah.
I rinse it, because I don't
Yeah.
want it to, I don't wanna wash it in the washing machine, but I was just curious what you thought of them,
It
because I do
definitely
have some
works.
of it, and
I
I'm
would
telling you.
say, like at a minimum, getting the socks are really, really good
Yeah.
because with ticks, they're going to crawl up over your socks,
Yeah.
and so the socks are huge.
So itchy.
And then
I know, it
pants
just
would be
makes
second. The shirt is nice. I think like the hats and stuff. I don't think
Yeah, I don't have those. I
They're
do
not
have
that
some
big.
pants.
Yeah, the pants and the shirt and the socks
Yeah.
are really good.
Yeah.
All the other stuff, like I have a hat that I
I know.
usually wear. I don't spray any of that.
Because I know the thing has a hood, so when it gets really bad and
Yep.
bad, I just put the hood on, it's like, this is great.
Yeah, it's good.
It really works.
They make great gifts too
Yeah,
for
those
like
are awesome.
people
I was
that
just
you know are
curious.
never gonna like treat their clothes or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
let's say you got a partner and they're always getting bit. You're just say, I don't want to worry about you anymore, and you give them a pair of
Yeah,
pants.
they
Here,
do.
wear these pants. Wear them in the garden. Wear them when you're landscaping. Yeah.
So that's good. Okay, it's good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you so
thanks
much.
everyone.